You wake up before you mean to. The room is still gray, the house is still quiet, and somewhere outside your window, before the coffee, before the day has any shape at all, there is sound. A chorus of it, actually, layered and purposeful and coming from every direction at once. You've heard it hundreds of times, you may have even smiled at it, but if you've been treating it as background noise, as the pleasant soundtrack of early morning, you've been missing what is genuinely one of the most sophisticated communication events in the natural world. And it's happening in your yard every single day just before sunrise. This is about the dawn chorus, specifically what it means, what each layer of it is doing, and what the birds in your yard are actually saying when they sing before the sun is fully up, because they are saying something. Every species, every individual bird, every shift in timing and intensity, it carries information. And once you understand what you're listening to, you will never hear that sound the same way again. If this is already making you look at the birds outside differently, hit the like button and subscribe, it really helps. And drop a comment telling me which birds visit your yard most often. I love knowing who I'm talking to. The dawn chorus is not random, that's the first thing to understand. It's not a collection of birds that all happen to feel like singing at the same time because the morning is pleasant. The dawn chorus is a coordinated, sequential, species-specific broadcast system, and it runs on a precise internal schedule that each bird carries inside its own biology. Research on circadian rhythms in songbirds has documented that individual species begin singing in a consistent order every morning, timed not by watching the sky, but by internal clocks calibrated to the rate at which light intensity increases before sunrise. American robins tend to go first, often starting 30 to 45 minutes before the sun appears. Song sparrows follow, northern cardinals layer in, black-capped chickadees, red-winged blackbirds, mourning doves, each on their own schedule, each species timing a product of millions of years of acoustic ecology. They are not waiting for it to get light enough to see. They are broadcasting in the dark because the dark, and the specific quality of pre-dawn air, is exactly when their signals travel farthest. Sound behaves differently at dawn. The air near the ground is cooler and denser than the air above it, which means sound waves refract downward instead of dispersing. A song sung at 5:15 in the morning can carry 2 to 3 times farther than the same song sung at noon. The birds know this. They have, across generations, timed their most critical communications to the exact window when those communications can be heard at maximum range. You're not hearing background noise. You're hearing a broadcast system optimized over evolutionary time for maximum signal propagation. What are they broadcasting? Several things simultaneously, and this is where it gets worth paying close attention to. For male songbirds, the dawn chorus is first and most urgently about territory. A bird that holds a territory, the stretch of yard, shrubs, tree canopy, and garden beds that it has claimed and is defending, must announce that territory every single morning. If it goes silent, other males read the silence as a vacancy. Researchers studying song sparrows have found that when a resident male was temporarily removed from his territory, neighboring males began crossing his boundary within 2 hours of his silence. The song is the border. Stop singing and the border dissolves. This is why the dawn chorus is loudest in spring, when territories are being established, but it doesn't stop in summer. Every morning that a male black-capped chickadee in your yard sings from the maple at 5:30 a.m. is a morning he's telling every other chickadee in range, still here, still claiming this, come any closer and we'll settle it. You've probably heard that specific chickadee without realizing you were hearing a territorial claim renewed for the 400th consecutive morning. The second thing the dawn chorus broadcasts is individual quality, and this is where the science becomes genuinely remarkable. Singing is expensive. A bird singing at full intensity before sunrise, before it has eaten anything, is drawing on fat reserves stored overnight. The complexity of a song, how many notes, how many distinct phrases, how fast the transitions, how accurately they're reproduced, signals something about the bird's physical condition, cognitive capacity, and genetic quality. A male with a complex, sustained, acoustically precise dawn song is advertising to every female in range that he survived the night in good condition, that he has the metabolic reserves to sing before eating, and that his brain is sharp enough to produce intricate patterns under fatigue. Research on European great tits found that females preferentially paired with males whose dawn songs were longer and more complex, and that the complexity of those songs correlated with actual measures of the male's immune function. The females weren't being arbitrary. They were reading genuine information from the broadcast. When the northern cardinal in your yard opens his dawn song with that long descending whistle, the one that carries from 3 gardens away, the female cardinal listening is extracting data from every detail of it. duration, volume, tonal purity, interval between phrases. She is making a calculated assessment, and the song is the instrument. So when you step outside with your coffee and you hear 3 or 4 species layered over each other in the pale gray light before sunrise, you're standing inside a system where birds are simultaneously defending territories, advertising health, assessing neighbors, and making choices that will shape which birds breed successfully this season, and therefore which birds will be in your yard next year and the year after. You've been standing in the middle of that system without knowing it. That changes now. Most people hear the dawn chorus and assume the loudest singer is the dominant bird, the one with the biggest voice, the one you can hear from inside the house with the windows closed. He must be in charge. This is a completely understandable reading. Volume feels like authority. It does in human contexts, and it's natural to carry that assumption into the yard. But volume in birdsong works differently than you'd expect. The loudest singer at dawn is often not the most established male in the area. He may in fact be the most anxious one. A bird that holds a secure, well-resourced territory, good food, good cover, a mate already committed, sings with consistency and precision. A bird that is uncertain, newly arrived, or actively under pressure from a competitor sings with urgency. More notes, more repetitions, more volume. The desperation is audible if you know what you're listening for. Volume is effort. Consistency is confidence. Those are two very different signals coming out of the same morning. The northern cardinal is a good example to watch for this. A male cardinal who has held the same yard territory for 2 or 3 seasons sings fewer songs at dawn than a young male trying to establish himself nearby. The resident's song is measured. He doesn't need to shout. He has already been heard by every bird that matters. The young male on the edge of his range is burning energy trying to sound as established as he isn't yet. If you've noticed that the cardinal in your yard seems to sing more some mornings than others, he's probably responding to a challenge you can't see, another male in the tree line, a neighbor's yard, a boundary being tested. The intensity of his song is a window into a territorial drama playing out just beyond your view. Pay attention to the pauses, too. A bird that sings, stops, listens, then sings again is doing something specific. It is monitoring the response. Each pause is an ear turned toward the territory boundary, checking whether another male answered, whether the answer came from the expected direction, whether the acoustic situation has shifted. Researchers studying song sparrows found that males adjusted the timing and direction of their singing based on where competing males responded from, essentially holding a conversation across a territory boundary in which neither bird can see the other. What sounds to you like a pleasant series of calls is a negotiation. The pauses are where the bird processes the other side of the argument. This is also the moment to pay attention to something happening in your yard that most people walk right past. When one species goes quiet during the dawn chorus, listen for what fills the space. Birds time their songs to avoid overlapping with species that sing at similar frequencies. Wrens and warblers, for instance, both occupy the higher frequency range, and research on acoustic partitioning has found that birds actively shift the timing of their phrases to avoid masking each other's signals. The dawn chorus is not a free-for-all. It is a shared acoustic space that multiple species are managing simultaneously, each working to be heard without drowning out a neighbor whose silence, in other contexts, they depend on for safety information. They need each other audible. A yard with a rich dawn chorus, multiple species, overlapping but not colliding, each holding its frequency lane, is a yard with something genuinely valuable going on. Acoustic diversity at dawn is one of the clearest indicators researchers use to assess habitat quality. A dawn chorus with 6 or 7 species present signals a yard that has what birds need: layered vegetation, reliable food sources, water, cover. A dawn chorus with 1 or 2 species, or none, signals something missing. If you've noticed the chorus in your yard getting quieter over the years, that's worth paying attention to. Now here's the layer of the dawn chorus that will genuinely change how you hear it. Individual birds have signatures. A northern cardinal doesn't sing the same song as every other northern cardinal. Research on song learning in Aucine songbirds, the group that includes cardinals, sparrows, thrushes, and wrens, has documented that young males learn their songs by listening to adult males in their territory during a sensitive developmental window in their first year of life. They memorize, practice, and refine a repertoire that is partly inherited and partly learned from the specific individuals around them. The result is regional dialects. A white-crowned sparrow in one valley sings a song with slightly different phrasing than a white-crowned sparrow 50 miles away. And within a population, individual males have distinct repertoires, specific phrase sequences, particular tonal qualities. recognizable to other birds and, with training, to human ears. The cardinal that sings from the oak in your yard every morning is not interchangeable with any other cardinal. He has a specific voice. The female cardinal in your yard knows it. The neighboring males know it. If you sit with the dawn chorus long enough, you will begin to know it too. The morning he doesn't sing, you will notice, and that absence will tell you something just as clearly as his presence did. Which brings us to the moment most people experience and completely misread. You're outside early, maybe you couldn't sleep, maybe you made coffee before sunrise for once, and the dawn chorus is going full and layered and coming from every tree at once. And then something happens. The chorus stops, not gradually. All at once, like someone turned off a switch. The yard goes completely silent. No movement, no calls, nothing. And after a few seconds you hear it. A sharp, high, thin note from somewhere in the canopy. Then another, then silence again. Most people assume the birds stopped singing because they were startled. A car on the road, a dog barking, something they reacted to. And sometimes that's true. But the specific silence you just witnessed, total, simultaneous, across multiple species at once, followed by that thin, high-pitched note, is something different. That is a raptor alert. A hawk entering the airspace, possibly a Cooper's hawk, which hunts songbirds specifically and approaches low through tree cover, or a sharp-shinned hawk on a fast pass through the yard. The thin, high note is a contact call designed to be nearly impossible to locate. High-frequency sounds are hard to triangulate, which means the hawk cannot pinpoint the caller. The birds went silent to remove themselves as targets, then sent a signal that warned every bird in the yard without giving away their own position. That silence was not random, it was coordinated, and you were inside it. That realization, that the silence itself is language, is the thing that changes everything about how you stand in your yard in the early morning. You were already there, you were already paying attention, in your own way, but you were listening for the sound. You weren't listening to the absence of it. Now you know that both carry equal weight. The chorus tells you the yard is safe, the territory is held, the morning is proceeding as it should. The silence tells you something entered the airspace that every bird in your yard agreed, simultaneously and without a meeting, was worth going completely still for. These are not two different events, they are two registers of the same ongoing conversation. And you have been standing inside that conversation every morning without a translation. Here is what changes when you start listening with this understanding. The first thing you'll notice is the resumption. After a raptor alert silence, that total switched-off stillness, the chorus doesn't restart all at once. It rebuilds in layers, in roughly the reverse order it went quiet. A single bird tests the air with a short phrase, silence. Another bird answers from a different direction. A third joins. Gradually, over 2 or 3 minutes, the full chorus reassembles. This is not coincidence. The sequential resumption is itself a safety check. Each bird that adds its voice is simultaneously signaling its own survival and confirming to the others that the threat has passed. The chorus coming back online is a distributed all clear, built from individual birds deciding, one at a time, that it's safe to be heard again. If you step outside and the yard is quiet and stays quiet for more than 4 or 5 minutes, that hawk is still nearby. The birds know, they are waiting. The second thing to start tracking is which species resumes first. In most backyard populations, the birds that sing earliest in the resumption after a raptor alert are the same birds that sang earliest in the original pre-dawn chorus, the robins, the cardinals. This is not coincidence either. These species tend to forage lower to the ground and are more visible to terrestrial predators than aerial ones. For them, a Cooper's hawk that has moved on represents less residual risk than it does for a small sparrow that is exactly the right size for that hawk to carry. The order in which your yard birds resume singing after a silence tells you something about how each species ranks the threat, and how confident each one is that the airspace is clear. You are watching a risk assessment conducted in real time, expressed entirely through the decision to make sound. The third shift in how you'll hear the dawn chorus is the most personal. Once you know that individual birds have distinct voices, distinct repertoires, distinct signatures that neighboring birds recognize and remember, you will begin to track individuals without meaning to. The Carolina wren that opens every morning from the same corner of the fence, the song sparrow whose third phrase always drops a half step lower than you expect, the cardinal whose whistle has a slight rasp on the descending note that no other cardinal in the neighborhood shares. These are not interchangeable animals cycling through your yard. They are specific individuals with histories, territories, relationships, and routines that overlap with yours in ways that are more deliberate than most people ever realize. Research on territory fidelity in backyard songbirds has found that individual birds return to the same breeding territory year after year, sometimes for the entirety of their lives. A black-capped chickadee that survives to adulthood can live 8 to 12 years. A northern cardinal can live 15. The cardinal who sings from your oak at 5:30 every April morning may have been doing exactly that since before you started paying attention. The dawn chorus you hear this spring may include birds who have heard your back door open and close hundreds of times, who know the sound of your footsteps on the porch, who have incorporated your presence into their map of what is safe and what is not. That is not a small thing to sit with. What you do in the next few weeks can shift the quality of that chorus in ways that last for years. Dense shrubs and layered vegetation give birds the cover they need to feel safe enough to hold a territory in your yard, rather than just passing through it. A reliable water source, kept clean, kept full, kept unfrozen in cold months, draws species that would otherwise not have reason to stay. Leaving the dawn hours quiet, not running the leaf blower at 6 a.m., not startling birds off the feeder during the window when the chorus is at its most active, signals to the birds in your yard that this territory has a predictable, low-threat human presence. They are tracking that. They are adjusting their behavior based on the pattern you create. Every morning you step outside quietly, move slowly, and let the chorus happen around you without disrupting it. You are building a record that the birds in your yard will use to assess whether your space is worth claiming and keeping. If you're finding this helpful, please subscribe and turn on notifications. I upload new videos every week and I'd hate for you to miss one. Your support is what makes this channel possible, and it genuinely means the world to me. The dawn chorus will happen tomorrow morning whether you listen to it or not. The robins will go first. Before the sky is anything other than gray, the cardinals will follow. Somewhere in the canopy, a song sparrow with a repertoire unlike any other song sparrow in your neighborhood will run through his phrases in the cool pre-dawn air, carrying his voice as far as the physics of that specific moment will allow. He is not performing. He is alive. And he is saying so, and he is saying it in a language that has been spoken in places like your yard for longer than any human language has existed. You know what you're hearing now. Go outside tomorrow and listen like you do. Thank you so much for being here until the very end. It means everything. If this video changed how you hear your yard even a little, please share it with someone who loves nature. Check out the videos on your screen now. I think you'll love them. And subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next one.